Dear Redditors who ended a relationship with their best friend. What was your breaking point? My best friend and I met as entry-level employee. We both helped each other and elevated each other over the years. I stayed in corporate in middle management and made good money. He went into business for himself. His company was struggling, so he asked me for a favor. To quit my job, help him build his company. He could only pay for 1/2 of what I make, but promised in success we split the profits and share credit. He made it also sound really appealing having a best friend as a boss. Come on, it'll be fun, so I did. 6 months later I landed our first $1 million client. Money rolls in and I ask him, when will I start getting a split of the profit distribution? What profit distribution? He started taking back everything we talked about. No, you heard me wrong. I never said half the profits. Supposed you're wondering, was there a written agreement? No. Yes, I'm just that stupid to trust a person I used to spend vacations together. Talked to every day and treated him like a brother. I was the idiot for being too trusting. But at the same time I could not be his friend. I left his company. That client I introduced him to took their business elsewhere when the company was in breach of their agreement. His company went bankrupt. And he got a divorce because his wife, who did the accounting, saw a receipt of his that didn't make sense. Looked it up and found out it was a Russian brothel. Yes, he's that stupid too. I went back to a corporate job. With lesson learned to never do anything without formalizing it in paper. People were impressed I landed that $1 million client, so I actually came out better and was highly recruited. He married a woman whose upbringing had resulted in her being repulsed by physical contact and sex in general. To try to fill the void in his life, he made a pass at my wife. I have not talked to him since she told me what he did. Ditching me for a better something for the 100th time while I waited outside a concert with his ticket. That's so awful. I ended my friendship with a friend because she decided to go to a music festival without me, despite me literally asking her if she wanted to go and her saying she didn't want to because of XYZ. People suck. He promised me he would pay my rent with our business profits while I went out of town, but instead bought a truck with our money and told my landlord that I had the money but refused to pay. My family ended up homeless. Whether we spoke or hung out was fully dependent on me initiating it. So when I decided to step back, we stopped talking. By the time we stopped talking, it was the end of high school and we had both become completely different from each other. So this wasn't sudden. I think I tried to hang on to the friendship simply because it was the longest one I had. Which unfortunately wasn't reciprocated. She helped my ex break into my email to prove I was cheating on him. Spoiler alert, I wasn't. We dated a few times and it just never worked out. It was hard to go back to being friends after that. When my wife ran off with him, the best revenge is to let him have her. It's the old joke, my wife ran off with my best friend. I miss him terribly. Single quote. Well, when he started constantly bullying me, I took the hint. Yeah, that'll do it. I ended a friendship over something similar. I had a friend like this in the first 2 years of college. It's much better when there isn't someone trying to make you feel low all the time. My best friend used to be that kinda dick, and I had an hour-long conversation with him the one time. I asked him why he spoke to me the way he did sometimes and he broke down. He admitted he'd been hating himself and had suicidal tendencies. He realized his rudeness and stopped cold turkey and is receiving help. You never know what's going on in someone's head. He had a friend that stole from me. Defended the friend instead of backing me. At that point you might as well have carried the other side when he stole it. What did he steal, if you don't mind my asking? Dude stole my phone and wallet out of my locker while I was at work. It was obviously him, as his keycard was the only one in or out between my times in. She did lots of really shitty things and gaslighted the hell out of everything to make me apologize for them. The breaking point was when she said, I know you think you really love fiancé's name. But really, they should be preemptively raped to get rid of some of that pride. Take them down a notch. I was horrified. I ended the game night as quickly and safely as I could and ended the friendship immediately after. She tried to explain why she was right. Then she tried to figure out how this was my fault and I was unreasonable for saying that she was wrong. At most she was willing to admit to being tactless. 6 months later she reached out again. But it was to apologize for my misunderstanding her words and offering to forgive me. Apparently she should have anticipated I wasn't ready to hear hard truths about the love of my life. Yeah. Nope. I don't need that. At all. Still not friends with her. He ran off with my GF after swearing for weeks that he would never do such a thing. The best part was that I was best man at his wedding and he was married at the time. Honestly, looking back on it, I'm glad it happened. I got to kick 2 pieces of shit out of my life on the same day. I met my wife 2 years later and I've never been happier. I waited to see how long it would take for him to text me first. When it happens, I'll let you know. I'm doing that with all my friends right now. No one has texted yet, going on 6 months. She had a tendency of being selfish, while making me feel guilty that I was the selfish one. After spending my wedding day focused on her drama, I kept her at arm's length. When the birth of my first child was also overshadowed by her drama, I cut her loose. Gaslighting is terrible. I still worry I'm being too self-centered. They became a meth addict and blamed everyone else for their problems. I tried everything I could to help them for over a year. I ruined a lot of my own life trying to be there for them. It was a hard lesson to learn that sometimes the people that you really love and care about are beyond help. It hurts to remember the person that she used to be and admit to myself that the person I knew is gone. Same here. My best friend since elementary school fell hard into drugs and alcohol. She would embarrass me being wasted and trying to get high off stupid shit around my other friends. The final straw for me was she did drugs and drank while she was pregnant. Had a baby who was developmentally delayed. And didn't take care of him properly. Leaving her elderly grandpa to pick up the slack. After I cut ties with her, she ended up having another kid. She got both of them taken away. She ended up in jail a few times. Not my problem. I got sober and turned my life around. She wanted to stay in the same spot on her couch. Pretend her issues didn't exist. And make someone else responsible for her sobriety. She was firmly entrenched in the belief she was a victim and couldn't comprehend being in charge of her own life. It got to the point I was having anxiety before I went to hang out with her and I couldn't take it anymore. She was just accepting failure every time. She was dealt a horrible hand in life and inherited her dead mom's dilapidated hoarding house and moved in. I offered to help her to clean it countless times, but the last time I went in it looked like it needed condemning. She also dated a strung-out deadbeat guy and they are so toxic together. Definitely lots of Xanax and probably heroin involved. The final straw was they bought a husky with no previous dog knowledge. Her nor her boyfriend could afford flea meds and the dog was likely anemic from the fleas. I spent my own money to help with her poor dog to clean it up. The next day her boyfriend was asking on FB where he could buy an Xbox or PC for the Lola. I couldn't stand the thought of not coughing up the $100 to get flea meds and a flea bath for your clearly neglected dog, but they can afford Xanax and Xboxes. I blocked her on everything. We were friends for 10 years, but I couldn't watch her become such a piece of shit anymore. We never had classes together. And grew apart. We didn't talk much anymore and we weren't into the same things. Was using my house as a staging excuse point so he could fuck around on his wife who was also a friend of mine. I was best man in their wedding. Don't know why people are saying you're an asshole for this. Someone using me as an excuse to cheat on someone without talking to me would be a betrayal of trust. Also, would have a hard time respecting someone who had to sneak around and lie. Communicate your needs, your problems, and what you want. If that's not respected, one has to make a call. Lying about it is the worst possible approach. Stole $400 from me when he found out the girl he liked actually liked me. We were in our mid-20s. High school never ends. When I realized her childhood family was too dysfunctional and she was taking her anger, frustration out on me since mine was not. She was always belittling me and talking over me and I just realized it wasn't worth it. She was funny and we liked the same things, but if I spent more than 2 hours with her, I came home feeling worn down. He and I lived on opposite sides of the country. I had been thinking of moving to Phoenix at the time since I knew people there, but I didn't care for the heat. He told me I should move in with him in Alabama and I could crash on his couch until we got a bigger place. Fast forward 6 months. 2 weeks away from moving 3,000 miles. And I finally put my notice in at work. I get home and tell him on Discord and he asks me where I'm going to be living. I said with him since that was the plan. He then tells me I can no longer crash on his couch because he can't bring girls over when a random guy is living on his sofa. I was livid. I knew I couldn't find a place in 2 weeks when I wasn't even there yet, but I tried. I did eventually move to Alabama and he and I plus 2 others got a big house. It was a mistake. He's hands down the worst person I could ever call a friend. He uses people. He'll make plans with you and ditch you. He'll tell you whatever you want to hear. I tried talking to him about some personal issues and he would treat it as some sort of competition of who has it worse. We moved away from each other, but now we're living together because he needed a place to go after getting kicked out of where he was. He tells people that me and my other roommate were hurting financially and that's why he lives with us. Took me a while to confront the fact that we're not friends. First time I cried over losing a friend in my life. In hindsight, it's good riddance. I might have to live with him now, but I ignore him for the most part. Makes it a lot easier.